Hello, chums. Recently I've been playing a lot of older games, but older in quotes, because of some new games that have been coming out recently. I've been playing Little Nightmares because of Reanimal. I've been playing Tomodachi Life because of Tomodachi Life. And I've also just generally been playing my 3DS a little bit for Tomodachi Life, and also I've been playing a little bit of A Link Between Worlds. And you know, this got me thinking about something a little bit fun that I could do. I've been playing video games for quite some time. Some could say pretty much my entire life. And I thought I would make a fun little video where I go between a bunch of different video game consoles and stuff that I was very fond of, and talk about some of my memories that I have with it. And just to take a big old trip down memory lane. And unless you want to count the Mansion Company U video, I think this is the first time I will ever talk about the Wii U or reference the Wii U, so don't get too excited. But first, it's between the DS and the Wii that were like my two first experiences with gaming, and the DS was my first handheld. I was obviously at the age where I was kind of just fascinated by it because my siblings had it. They were essentially my introduction to just Nintendo as a whole, and you know what a video game system is. Because I mean, especially with the DS, you know, you generally have multiple DS systems, and I know that I still have some of the old ones, and I'm struggling to remember exactly what my very first video game was, but it had to be something from the DS. I think it had to be New Super Mario Bros., Pokemon Diamond, or Sonic Rush. I think it's between those three. But I mean, yeah, it's probably New Super Mario Bros. is what I'm betting, because I don't remember exactly. But like, what a game to start with, right? You just have this full 2D Mario game, along with all of like the mini games and stuff that they include with that and with 64 DS. And I have specific memories of playing the multiplayer. I guess I'll count this as the first DS memory of playing the multiplayer versus mode with my dad. I'd be Mario, he'd be Luigi, and we would just play this mode that I couldn't play otherwise unless I forced him to play it. And anytime that he got close to winning, or anytime he did win, I think I would turn off my DS system and like disrupt the connection, and I found that to be very funny. A little trend with some of these gaming memories actually is that I was kind of a little asshole sometimes. Some sins actually involving someone's that I still haven't forgiven myself for. Another big one being Super Princess Peach. My sister loved that game, she played that game, and I'm pretty sure, because to get to the end of the game, you need like a certain number of toads, and she was one away from getting to the final thing in the game, the final boss, I guess, and I wanted to play the game, so I deleted her save file, and she got very upset at that. And I'm only like half joking when I say I think that experience might be the first time I've ever felt guilt in my entire life. Because I mean, like, especially at that age, you kind of don't have like a concept for like, oh, the things I do can affect other people, and that sometimes things are bad to do actually. So I wanted to play a video game, so I was going to figure out a way to play the video game, and I wanted to play from the start, so I deleted the save, and then, you know, it's stuck with me ever since. Actually, backpedaling a little bit to New Super Mario Bros. And actually, I think it was specifically Super Mario 64 DS, but I'm pretty sure both of those games do the same thing. Where when you close the DS screen and put it into like sleep mode, when you have one of those games open, Mario will say bye-bye. He'll say bye to you. And whenever I was like starting out school, I was not very happy about it at all. But I would play like the DS on the way. I'd play a little bit of Mario, and I wouldn't get out of the car to go to school unless I was able to close the DS and have Mario say bye-bye to me. Because, you know, if Mario is wishing you a good day, then you're gonna have a fucking good day. Also, thinking about the mini games in that game, the Yoshi Loves Me Not minigame, I don't know if this is like a thing that a lot of people who were growing up at the time felt. That game scared the shit out of me. I don't know why. That game scared the fuck out of me. I think it was like the sound effect that plays when you get Loves Me Not, and it's kind of off-putting when you play it anyway, because you're just kind of slowly picking up the pedals, and it's just like Yoshi sitting on the bridge, and you're hoping that it's not Loves Me Not, because you get this little horrifying little sad guy with like a weird sound. And that's not all I was afraid of. With Animal Crossing Wild World, which was my first Animal Crossing game on the DS, I was too young to understand what the actual objective of Animal Crossing was, because I was, you know, raised on Super Mario. So whenever you give me like a life sim where I have to make money, I'm lost. I needed my sister to help me get past like the tutorial stage where you're working for Tom Nook in those early games. But Resetti, that was another thing. I didn't understand the concept of saving a game. I didn't know what that meant. So I would just, if I was done with the game, I would probably just close the game. So it would need to be a game that's saved by itself at certain points for me to understand it. But yeah, I saw Resetti a lot. And in Wild World, he asks you like these really strange questions and then like gets mad at you for not giving him the right answer. And it's like something really stupid and specific from what I remember. And I would always just like close the game if I saw him, because I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do about this. I don't understand this at all. But yeah, he's been lobotomized. Entirely unrelated from Fear, for a minute at least. I remember, I mean, the DS home screen is almost entirely useless, but I was very curious with the idea of the Picto Chat. I had no idea what that was really, because obviously I didn't really have friends with DSs around to draw funny pictures with, but one time we all brought our DSs to school, me and like 3 or 4 other people, and I think I remember being very confused because I'm pretty sure at the time they were like cool with it. But then when we actually brought them in, we played Picture Chat like that morning together for the first time ever. And I was like, oh my god, this is how you're supposed to do this. And then we immediately got in trouble for having them. And then they got taken off us for the rest of the day. So I don't know if there was like mixed messaging, because I remember at the time thinking that it was fine for whatever reason. And that was also really scary. Like having like an entire system taken off you by a teacher, where it's like, I don't know if they're gonna fucking give that back. But onto a game that was just like entirely influential was Sonic Rush. My first Sonic game, I think. I also played Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog on my brother's PS2. That's kind of the only memory I have of the PS2, so I'm not gonna give that like its own little block to talk about in, but yeah. But I'm pretty sure Sonic Rush came first. And that game probably did a lot more to my brain than I think it did. It just has the specific visual style. And obviously, I think that the thing with like the little crushed voice bites that you get in that game, I think is like really charming. And then obviously, you have the Hideki Naganuma soundtrack, which is the first time I ever heard of his music. I wonder if that'll ever happen again anytime in the future, if I'll play any games with him in it. But yeah, Sonic Rush just had the good vibes, just had those retro vibes. And you know, I haven't played it since. I have no idea where my copy of Sonic Rush went, if I sold it or what. But yeah, it's pretty much what made me a Sonic fan, and to anyone who kind of knows me, I love me some Sonic. And then also obligatory, I don't actually remember what they were called. Was it like an R4 card? The card that had like 200 DS games, except mine did not have 200, it had like 30. For some reason, my fucking godmother, I don't know why she had one, but she gave it to me filled with these games, and I was like, that's fucking dope. It's a bunch of games on one cartridge. So that's how I got that. Okay, well, I'm thinking about this now, actually. That means that Pokemon Diamond probably wasn't my first game ever. It was my first Pokemon game ever. That's probably what I was thinking of, because it was on that card, which is kind of crazy. It had a bunch of different games. A bunch of them I didn't play. I'm trying to remember what ones there were. There was Pokemon Diamond. There was one I'll talk about in a second. Dragon Quest Heroes Rocket Slime. Holy fuck. There was like some Lego game I tried to play. I think there was like some like RPGs that I wasn't interested in. There was like a Pac-Man game. That's all I remember. There was definitely like 20 to 30 games on there. I guess I just didn't play a lot of them. But in Pokemon Diamond, I remember there was like a cheat menu that was super accessible, and I would just like play that game with like 999 Master Balls, and I'd play for like 10 minutes and be like, oh my god, I can fucking just catch anything, I don't have to fight anything, and then I'd get bored and then close the game. Yeah, Dragon Quest Heroes Rocket Slime is such a like, that's one of the games in my past that I'm thinking is like such a fucking like fake game, and I feel like no one else that I've ever interacted with in my life has ever even heard of it. It's like probably not even that good. I just remember that the soundtrack was like banged. For a strange reason, the soundtrack went really hard, and to this day, that is the closest to Dragon Quest I have ever gotten, and probably ever will get. I'll end off with some more Pokemon ones for the DS. I have 2 in mind right now. There was the Pokewalker that came with Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver, For some reason, we didn't have Heart Gold Soul Silver. It was so weird, but we had the Poke Walker, and I thought I could use that with one of my other games, and I remember like bugging like my dad about it, being like, how do I use this? What do I use this for? And he obviously had no fucking idea. I have no idea why we didn't have those games. My brother must have like given it away or something, because it would have been his. But I remember just having the Poke Walker and like looking at this little device, and I was like, I think I just thought it looked cool because it looked like a Pokeball. And I thought it was compatible with like Black and Diamond, which I don't believe they were, unless I was stupid. And speaking of Pokemon Black, I have this very specific memory of a day. I think there were like people over at our house, and I was upstairs in my room because I didn't want to deal with any of that, on my DS playing Pokemon Black, and I finally made it to the Elite Four. And it's, I think in Pokemon Black, there's no way to save between fights with the Elite Four. You have to just like do it in like one straight shot, and if you lose, you're fucked. I remember getting to like the third or fourth one and losing, and I would like get mad and kind of like shake my DS, and it was like a very sensitive system. So if you did something like that, if you like moved it in any way like that, it would just freeze. I think that's what it was. It was because I didn't save while fighting the Elite Four. I would freeze the system constantly and have to do the fights again. I remember getting so infuriated with that. And like also as a kid, I was dog shit at video games. I was probably horrible at Pokemon. I mean, I kind of still am. I play those games very casually. But the Elite Four in Black and White, like, are pretty difficult, I would think, for you know, the time for me playing that game. And I actually don't think I ever made it to the champion. Because I remember like years later finding out that like N is technically the champion because he beats the champion before you get there. I remember being like, wait, what? That's what happened? So I don't think I actually ever made it. And obviously I've replayed the game since. I've beat Pokemon Black a few times. But that's really funny to think that I played that game the whole way through almost, and I never even got Reshiram. I just couldn't stomach it, I guess. Anyways, enough of the dual screen. Let's do the other one. I feel like with the Wii, strangely, I don't have as many specific memories outside of the ones that everyone has. Like, I played most of the Wii series games. Well, I mean, I guess I remember playing Wii Play with my dad a lot. We played tanks and billiards, because I think he fucked with billiards and I fucked with tanks. Obviously, with the Wii, a game that I really loved was New Super Mario Bros. Wii. But again, it strikes. I'm a gaming child without gaming friends. So what am I gonna do in this 4-player simultaneous multiplayer game? Well, being the fair and normal child that I was, I would force some of my relatives to play with me. I never ever got 4 people. So unfortunately, I never got to see Yellow Toad and Blue Toad outside of the cutscenes and the title screen. Woe is me. But there were specific rules that needed to be followed. Because I really liked Mario, I had to be player 1, and I had to always lead the charge. If whoever was playing as Luigi went ahead of me, even for like a little second, it wouldn't make me very happy at all. I'm not sure why that was such a specific rule I had, but there you go. A memory that always comes to mind, kind of in a similar vein, in the sense that I was very normal. Playing Smash Brawl, I remember like obviously no friends that would want to play with me, so I would play like CPU matches, and I think I was playing against specifically like level 7 difficulty Sonic, and I don't know if I was just having like a bad day or whatever the hell was going on with me, but I lost to the CPU, and I got like so upset at that I took my Sonic plushie that I had. I took him into the next room, threw him into the next room, and then closed the door. I recognize that some of this information should probably just go to the grave with me, but where's the content in that? Speaking of Smash Brawl, I think a lot of people have it in a similar way, but it was a big introduction for me to the, like, a big part of just gaming history. I know, like, specifically, that's how I learned about, like, Ice Climber and all of Metroid and all of Mother/Earthbound. And also, I think it was, like, I think they were called masterpieces or something. You could play in, like, the Games and More section, little demos of like NES games, I think. It was the first time I played a bunch of older games like that, like Mario and Zelda. Pretty sure I tried playing Metroid. I think there was like a Kirby Dream Land in there. And you know, I know I locked Sonic in another room just minutes prior, but I did really like the game because Sonic was in it. Other than that, I don't think I have many Wii memories specifically that really stand out in my mind. I feel like whenever people talk about Wii nostalgia, it's mostly like the same thing. Like, yeah, I made Mii's in the Mii Maker. I dicked around in the Wii channel sometimes. Yeah, I was cool. The 3DS is a very weird one, because I think this is kind of where I start transitioning into someone who just kind of played games for fun into someone who was you know, really took this seriously. One thing I always remember is my brother's Cosmo Black 3DS that we had at first. I guess we kind of shared the one 3DS more or less. And I remember playing Excitebike for the first time on that. It was Excitebike 3D Classics, which I didn't know. And it's a weird thing. Whenever you're younger, you don't really usually give much of a piss if a game is like an older game or a re-release or a remake or whatever, or if a game came out last week. Like, to me, the internet was just YouTube. It was just watching YouTube videos, and even then I barely knew what I was doing. So for all I know, because the Excitebike 3D Classics used the 3D, so because it did that, I just assumed that this game was recent. I mean, it technically was, but I had no idea that it was a remake of an old game for honestly quite a while. I think I saw like gameplay of Excitebike in maybe like a Scott the Woz video like a good few years later, and then it looked like different, and I was like, why does it look like that? And then I realized that it was not a 3DS game, actually. The 3DS was also a system that had parental controls on it because I guess I was using it. Now that I think about it, I don't know how that worked because my brother used it too. I don't know if there was a restriction there. But I remember I would always try to open like settings and like go into the eShop. Not even to like buy anything specifically, but just because like I was going around all the apps on my 3DS. I was kind of treating it like a Wii where there was a bunch of different channels and stuff. As you can imagine, I fucked with things. I fucked with the AR cards. Sorry, that's kind of a tangent, but I fucked with the AR cards and like face raiders. Or face riders as it's known to some. But like I don't think I ever really used the Wii Shop channel. So I saw this eShop and like this funny little bag character, and I was like, oh my god, I want to see what's in that. I want to see what's in there. And I couldn't figure out like the parental controls thing. I didn't know that I wasn't allowed to use that technically. So I was always just like, there was just this entire like walled off part of the 3DS that I was always like, what if I could just use that like everyone else? One game I remember specifically on YouTube, I saw Kubanamani456 playing Sonic Generations, and I thought it looked so fucking cool, and I was like, I need to have that. And then I got Sonic Generations, the 3DS version. I think it's generally regarded as significantly worse than the original, and I don't remember much about it other than like it had like Water Palace in it from Sonic Rush. I thought that was kind of cool. A super weird version of the game where it kind of felt like they were just taking like the table scraps of what Sonic Generations didn't have in its game. Like, I think it had like Mushroom Hill, it had like a big arm boss fight, it had Water Palace, like I said. I don't really remember much more than that. But one thing that I remember very clearly in my mind is the Time Eater boss fight being maybe the worst thing that I've ever experienced. I don't know if it was just me being a stupid child or if that boss fight was just horribly designed or not. But I struggled on that fight for a long while, and I couldn't get past it. And I remember being at my grandmother's house, and I remember telling her about the Time Eater from Sonic Generations, giving me a hard time, and I don't remember what she said to me, but it was probably something along the lines of, oh, really? Because what do you say to that? I have a lot of memories with Pokemon with the 3DS. I know my brother had like the weird Pokedex, like 3D Pokedex thing, where it was like the first time a lot of these Pokemon had got like 3D models, and then like 10-15 years later they're still using the same models. My memories with Pokemon Generation 6 would be the fact that I have no memories of Pokemon Generation 6. I fully played and completed Pokemon X, And I actually could only tell you maybe 2 things about that game. And they're probably great games. I didn't care then, and I kind of don't care now. But for some reason, Generation 7, Sun and Moon, were super, like, important for some reason. I think it was around the time where I actually started seeing advertisements for games and then recognizing, oh, they're putting footage out for this game, which means that it's coming out soon. It was, you know, I started becoming sentient at, like, age 13. But yeah, me and my brother went out and, like, got the quote fan edition of the game when it launched, and like it was me, him, and one of his friends. We all like coordinated what starters we were gonna pick. I still don't really know why we did that. We never played the game together, and being the goat that I am, I picked Rowlet, he picked Litten, and the other guy picked Poplio. I kind of stopped being indoctrinated by his fire type agenda. I remember I would mostly pick the fire type starter because he was like, fire type's the best type. He's the kind of guy that likes Charizard. You know, the kind of guy that likes Charizard. So like in Gen 4 I picked Chimchar, Gen 5 I picked Tepig. I do still have a big attachment to those. But you know, I just really thought about it this time. And I picked the fucking grass type. I remember strangely, I think it was literally like a year later. I don't remember when they announced it. But when they announced Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I remember seeing footage for that. And I think that was the first time I ever had a critical thought about a video game company. Because I saw that, and I was like, oh my god, a new Pokemon game, I should get this. And I watched a trailer for it, and I was like, this is the same game I already own. Maybe I shouldn't buy this. And here we are today. I make YouTube videos talking about Nintendo. The world really is magnificent in that way, isn't it? That's actually sparked a different memory entirely. I'll talk about it with the Wii U as well, but with the 3DS, I started understanding what like a YouTuber was, and that people recorded themselves playing games for views on the internet. And I saw that and was like, I want to do this too, because I love video games and I love YouTube. So I remember I would like sit in the corner at like a table in like the corner of the living room. I remember specifically one time, like my dad was watching something on the TV and I was just in the corner. I had a camcorder and I pointed it at my 3DS and I pretended like I was doing a Let's Play of Super Mario 3D Land. I actually remember recording a lot of just like small stuff on like that camcorder. I used to fuck with Angry Birds a lot, and I had these little like squidgy like water-filled Angry Bird things you'd fucking chuck at the wall and shit. And I would like play around with them and record it. And I would do the same with games sometimes. So, you know, the YouTube thing has been brewing for a while. And with the 3DS kind of generation, I think I started learning more about Zelda, because I remember I specifically was a fan of Peanut Butter Gamer, who was a big Zelda guy. He would do Zelda month and do a bunch of Zelda content. And I thought it was all really fun. I remember specifically, obviously, his Zelda CDI videos, and then his hacking videos, which is the first time I saw Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker. Well, I had probably seen those games before, but it was the first time that I had actively, like, watched a thing about them. And my brother got Ocarina of Time 3D, and I remember him, like, handing me the cartridge of that. I don't think he didn't have, like, the box for some reason. He handed me the cartridge for Ocarina of Time 3D, and it was such a magical moment. I think back fondly on like getting a lot of games, but I think that might be one of my favorite memories, because I wanted Ocarina of Time for so long at that point, at least in my child brain. Maybe it was like 2 weeks, and then he was just like, oh, fuck it. But he handed it to me, and I mimicked the little like Legend of Zelda, you know, when you get an item from a chest. I raised my hand in the air with the little cartridge. Yeah, I'm cool. And yeah, I struggled with it. Ocarina of Time has puzzles, and you know, as a kid, that isn't the greatest combination. I needed walkthroughs and like guides through pretty much the entire playthrough. I remember I got to like Ganon's castle whenever I got the Master Sword, because you know, you can just go there as soon as you turn into Adult Link. But obviously you can't go inside. And I remember seeing like footage of like a rainbow bridge going across to the castle, and I was talking to my dad, and I was like, how do I get the rainbow bridge to be there in my game? It's in their game, why is it not in mine? But yeah, I remember playing Ocarina of Time 3D and that being like a very fond memory I have with the 3DS. I remember making like a sort of deal with my sister whenever we were getting Animal Crossing New Leaf and Tomodachi Life, because I think for some reason, I don't know if my mother just wanted to splurge or if she was just pissed off at me and my sister talking about these games, but we really wanted Animal Crossing and Tomodachi Life. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if she was pissed off at us, because I remember being in the car one time where my sister like hit her limit, because I would always tell her about Tomodachi Life because I watched the Peanut Butter Gamer video about it, but since I was a stupid fucking kid, I would just like parrot everything that he said in that video to her. I just told her the same things over and over again because I wanted to tell someone about this video game, and I remember she was just like, can you stop fucking talking about this? Like, I get it, you can make them say funny curse words in the songs. I get that that's funny to you. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we got both of those games either on the same day or like kind of back to back. I think they were pretty close to each other. But our little argument was that because in Tomodachi Life and Animal Crossing, you have to have one person be like I guess like the leader or like the owner of the island or like the town in Animal Crossing. And my sister really wanted to be that. And then because I was a little asshole, I also wanted to be that. But we eventually came to the conclusion that she should be the owner of the Animal Crossing town, and then I should own the island on Tomodachi Life. And you know, I'd say my sister got the better half of the deal there. I mean, obviously she was gonna play New Leaf way more than I was, so I'm glad it went that way. And also, I think I do strangely have more of a fondness for Tomodachi Life than New Leaf, because I still kind of didn't really understand what Animal Crossing's deal was. I wasn't at the point where I needed my sister to play the game for me, but I was still kind of like, what's the point of this? But Tomodachi Life is just so like weird and funny to me, and I just like the ideas of having me's of people you know in just like weird situations. And you know, living the dream's coming soon, so I'm a little excited. But those are most of my big 3DS memories, and I'm not gonna move on to a system that is objectively better. The Wii U is what I consider to be the first console that I owned that was basically just mine. My brother had basically moved on to being a Sony boy. He didn't really play Nintendo stuff anymore. And I don't think my sister played much at all outside of maybe some DS stuff. So I was holding the final bastion of Nintendo love in the house. Something I always think about as just such a weird moment where I feel like is somewhere in my brain I must have known, or just like somewhere in the fabric of life it was destined to happen. But I think it was Christmas of 2016, and I was thinking of stuff that I wanted to get, and I was trying to think of Wii U games that I wanted. I want to get a Wii U game, and I knew Splatoon had come out kind of recently, and I'd probably seen some reviews and stuff of it and people talking about it. I know I had seen some Splatoon videos. Just randomly on a whim, I was like, I should get Splatoon. And keep in mind, I didn't really know anything concretely about it. I just knew what people were talking about at the time. I was like, oh, this is like Nintendo's response to Call of Duty. It's a big multiplayer thing. That's basically all I knew. And I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. And I remember like not even really being excited the night before. I get very excited about games, especially as a child. But I remember the night before being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play Splatoon tomorrow. Cool. And then Splatoon just happened to become my favorite series of games ever. And I remember a little bit later down the line, I would use my iPad. I would prop it up against one of the legs of like the coffee table or something and point it up at our TV, and I would record myself playing Splatoon, but I would get embarrassed about it, and my dad would hear me like talking about the game, and he assumed I was talking to people, and he didn't really understand why. So he would walk into the room sometimes because he'd hear me talking, and I would immediately end the recording and then delete it because he walked in, and I was like, that's really embarrassing. But you know, I think that's kind of fun because, you know, Splatoon is how the channel started. Well, technically not, but I mean, like, with what's public, ignoring the one Animal Crossing video, Splatoon is how the channel started, and it's how a lot of my subscribers know me. I remember whenever I was making my Miis for my Wii U, obviously the Mii channel was entirely just my game now. It was my playing field, and I don't remember why. I think it was the manga for The Legend of Zelda Four Swords that changed how my brain worked fundamentally. That made me want to design 4 Miis. They were all of me, but I just made the same Mii 4 times and had them all be the different colors. And I remember my brother like saw, because my account name was my name in brackets red, because it was the red one. It was like the main one that I used instead of the green one for some reason. I don't know. But I remember he saw that and was like, why is there red next to that? That's fucking stupid. And then I had to explain to him, it's actually because of the Zelda, it's the 4 swords. So there's 4 colors, and that's the red one, and then there's the blue and the green and the purple. I'm still cool, right? This was the period where I think I kind of became a diehard Nintendo guy. Obviously, like, I liked all the systems before, but with the Wii U, I was getting really into it, and I was getting into just, like, game news in general. I don't think I really knew that the Wii U was a complete failure and that it was, like, a bad console. I just kind of enjoyed what I enjoyed. And I remember one game I always saw a bunch about was Nintendo Land, which I didn't own and I never actually owned myself. But one time, we went to, like, my brother's friend's house, and this guy had a bunch of video game stuff, and I remember I was always super jealous of it. He owned, like, old Nintendo shit that I couldn't even comprehend. And I guess this is Wii specifically, but that's the guy I borrowed Mario Galaxy off of, so that's how I played that. So that was pretty cool. But we were at his house one time, and there were 4 of us, and no, I guess there had to be 5 of us to be playing Nintendo Land. But I saw that he had the game for his Wii U, and I like begged them to play it, and I was like, it was such a classic little brother thing where I was begging these guys who were, I don't even know at the time, they were like kind of like late teenagers. I was just begging them, hey, can we play this Nintendo game on your Wii U? And then my brother was like getting pissed off, and then he was like, oh fine, we'll play it. And that was the one time I played it. I think we played like 2 rounds of the Luigi's Mansion game, and that was it. And I remember just being so enamored by it. I still think that game concept is actually really fun. It was also where I got introduced to what I consider to be my favorite game of all time. The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker was such a formative game in so many ways. I think it's whenever I realized, like, that games, like, visual and, like, art style was something that I found to be super important. And I remember hearing years later that people hated Wind Waker because it, like, you know, the whole, oh, it's not Twilight Princess thing. I'm being, like, genuinely jaded because I obviously missed that entire era of discussion. I didn't even know really much about the original release. I remember talking to my brother about it and being like, it's Wind Waker HD. That must mean it's crazy. That must mean it's, like, something crazy. And I didn't know what HD meant. And I remember asking him what it meant because I thought it was, like, I knew that there was 2D and 3D, but I didn't know what HD was. So I assumed that because it was HD, that the old game had to be like 2D. For some reason, I remember picturing Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link in my head, even though that's an entirely different game, but that's the only picture that came to mind. I was like, this new one must be like, what's the HD? It must be like really cool and new and 3D. And then he was like, well, the old one's not in HD. But I still didn't know what that meant. But I remember I really liked that game because it let you just like play it on the gamepad. And the Wii U sort of tried to be like, oh, you can play games on the gamepad, but it wasn't portable because you needed to be near the console. So I remember I would have the Wii U set up in like the living room, and I would try to bring the gamepad as far away as possible without it disconnecting, and I would just play like Wind Waker in the hallway because I didn't like being in the living room when there were other people there. And I kind of just liked playing the game by myself. You know, I really was a solitary gamer. Another really stupid one that I think about, because people make fun of the Wii U gamepad for having a TV button. I think I might have been the only person to like use that, and by use it I mean use it one time. And it was whenever my mother was watching something on the TV and I had the Wii U connected, and I would use the TV button to turn the volume down. And like me and my dad were having a good laugh at that. We thought it was real funny. But I loved the Wii U. I kind of just liked the, like, in quotes, the culture, I guess. Like, I got amiibos and shit. I really loved the amiibos because they looked like the trophies from Smash Bros. I have some Smash amiibos. I remember getting the Mario Maker one that had one of the amiibos in it, and I remember it came with like a little like art book thing, and for some reason, I don't know why I thought this is how it worked, but that book like ends with the signature from Shigeru Miyamoto, and I remember in my head thinking, wow, the Miyamoto, he signed this copy in specific. No, he didn't. I also remember, strangely, the Wii U was kind of my first frontier in terms of online gaming. The game I'm referring to being, of course, Minecraft for the Wii U. I obviously grew up watching Minecraft videos, but I never had anything that would run it other than like my phone. I would play Pocket Edition, and my first time playing Minecraft was on my sister's shitty laptop when I didn't really understand how playing games with a keyboard worked. So the Wii U is kind of like my first huge big version of Minecraft that I ever played. It was also the first time I played Terraria as well, pretty fucked up to think about. But yeah, I would play on that thing. I would use the voice chat using the Wii U gamepad microphone, playing with people that were probably almost twice my age. Because of the fact that it was the console version, you couldn't connect to any like servers like Hypixel or anything, so there was no mini games until they added that. Also, side note, I used to be fucking goated at the spleef. What did they call it? Tumble? I think it was called Tumble. You could change the settings and you could have it be, instead of shovels, you would have snowballs. I used to be goated at Snowball Tumble, so don't fuck with me. But I remember like helping this person like playtest and like make like parkour adventure map kind of thing, and I remember a bunch of people being in that, and I also remember trying to do like a hardcore world with a bunch of people, but obviously there was no such thing as hardcore in console edition. That wasn't a difficulty setting. And I remember like being one of the first people to die because I drowned. I got stuck under a lily pad in the swamp, and then I was like, it doesn't count, guys, it doesn't count. Just a lot of fun stuff like that. And you know, it's really weird to think about people like that exist in like online spaces and then you never hear from them again. Like, where are those people right now? Are they dead yet? Anyways, I think this video has gone on for long enough. I didn't think I could talk about this for as long as I did. I probably could have went longer if I got more specific. I mean, maybe I'll make something like this again at some point later down the line. I mean, there's like a whole, like, there's mobile games, man. I didn't even tap into that. I was just doing like Nintendo consoles. So like, I played the PS2. Again, I don't think I could talk about it for very long because my only memories with that was like Sonic and Little Big Planet. But thank you for watching me talk about some awesome video games. You know, I technically could have talked about the Switch generation, thinking about that, because I was technically a child for a good portion of that. That's a little scary.